much. We've got Ronnie Hannison here, the Canadian networker and the ultimate networking event. Well, that sounds pretty cool.
Pretty exciting.
Networking event.
Yes, it's got to be ultimate.
Great. Okay, so let's find out about...
So, yeah, actually, Ronnie, why don't you tell us a little bit about why you started the Canadian Networker and what this event is about.
Sure, and what it's going to do for everyone?
Ronnie
Absolutely.
is a networker extraordinaire.
Okay.
So
thank you.
Let us learn from
Hear the story.
Why you did it, and why you feel networking is still one of the best ways to build a business.
Okay, I started off in my business in retail. After I started to evolve, I started my first magazine, and I noticed very quickly, in order to get the ad sales, I had to really get in with the businesses. So I started going around looking for different places to meet business owners. I saw very quickly that there wasn't anything really strong for the retail sector, so I created my first networking group, and it was my first foray into being the leader of a group and bringing businesses together, and that was my AFB network. It grew extremely quickly. Within the first year, we had over 200 members, and it was very, very exciting. We had a lot of activity going on, but very quickly I noticed that every networking group collapses in on themselves. So in other words, eventually it's the same people that show up, and you start to bang against walls and you don't have anywhere to sell. And the biggest goal that I have within business overall is you've got to be able to sell. You've got to be able to meet with people, to sell to them, to create alliances, and to purchase if there's someone you could meet that could help you reduce your costs within your business. So as this was happening, I started getting in touch with the heads of all the networking groups and told them that I wanted to create an ultimate networking event in which all the groups could bring their members so that their members could meet fresh blood, so that we could get together and they could then interact and sell to each other a couple of times a year. So that was the ultimate networking event, and that was the Canadian Networker. The Canadian Networker is the entrepreneur. It embodies everything that they are, what they need to get their business to go forward. Networking is a fantastic tool, and that is our event side. We've also now evolved very quickly into recognizing that it is through events, through the website, and then through the magazine that people can really gain a lot of exposure. And what we've done now is branched out into online resource centers for entrepreneurs, so that they now can not only have the benefits of connections. We have over 1,200 members, so it's very exciting. We call them business connectors. We are not a networking group, though we have alliances with all the large groups. LaTip, BNI, POWI, eWomen, Wings, they're all within the alliance of the Canadian Networker. And through that, we started creating the education side, because we had so much activity to cite, and that was so exciting. We thought, okay, what can we do? So we wanted a site that was slightly different than what other people do. In other words, we didn't want to hit Business 101. We wanted to hit and delve deeper. So we brought on coaches as partners to bring in information from every topic that a business person could need, from a life coach to a marketing coach to a money man to Jeanette as our marketing coach, to the different coaches, so that a business could be well-rounded. But it could also look for cash flow options. It could look for other businesses that could help them. So it evolved very, very quickly. Now we've grown so rapidly that we have the regions evolving from there. So each region, York region, Toronto, Durham, has now their own resource center leader that will promote those areas to really grow them, and making sure that our coaches get the exposure, our business to business, and our members can do, above all else, connect. And then we have our ultimate networking events. We have a big one running tomorrow night.
So tell us all about that. Give us the details of where it is, what time, what's happening, that sort of thing.
Sure. It's tomorrow, September 21st, at the Shangri-La Banquet and Conference Center. It is on 50 Alden Road in Markham, so it's just north of where the DVP turns into the 404, and you just go right up Woodbine, and it's right there. We're expecting about 600 plus people to come, because it is our Networking Group of the Year Awards. So we've had nominations from groups from London, groups from Niagara Falls, from right in the GTA. So it's been very exciting. There's a lot of attention being brought to it. So we have a lot of people coming, a lot of fresh blood connections, which is what excites me the most on it. We have speakers. Jeanette's going to be one of our speakers. So we have our speakers going up. We have booths, vendors, and we also have booths set up so that our visitors and our readers in the magazine can meet our coaches and actually see what they're about and where there's a fit. And that was one of the main things we had with our magazine in this particular issue is coaching the answer for you? Is that a way to really explode your business. And we have our coaches on the cover, and we want them to meet our guests one-on-one to be able to talk with them and see what they're about and see what they can do to help your business get forward, because that's our commitment. And it's so much so that this particular event, we're not charging for tickets. It's completely complimentary. We have issued it out, 2,000 complimentary tickets to bring businesses together so that they are able to rock their fourth quarter sales.
Wow, that's great.
And so in all of this, okay, if you had to sum it up to one thing, what do you feel your spin on networking, or the way you handle the Canadian Networker, whether it's through your magazine, the networking, the ultimate networking event, what do you feel that you do differently than any other marketing group out there, and why?
The Canadian Networker offers 3 areas of promotion within one program. So we offer, depending on the level that you wish to come in on, we offer web, print, and events. So we're able to get FaceTime for our members, our coaches, our business-to-business, our frontline advertisers, we call them, and our sponsors. We're able to offer the magazine, which from whatever level you come in, you either get print ad or you get article opportunities to write within the magazine. So it gives you the print element, which gives you credibility. And then we have the web, which obviously is reach. And because we're so large, and we're now growing more and more rapidly within the different regions, we're going to have even more traffic. My ultimate vision is to have, by the end of 2011, 5,000 business connectors and all the businesses and the coaches that can help. So there's a wealth of information coming together, and people are able to have those connections. So it's through those elements that makes it very valuable to be part of the Canadian Networker, to come out to our events, to read our magazine, and to go onto the site and see what we have available there in terms of what can help your business move forward.
And one other question I have for you, typically when one goes to a networking event, and a lot of people stop going for this reason, so I'd like to get your take on it. You mentioned sort of a little bit about this earlier in the segment, which was, you know, you go to an event, you see the same people there all the time, and they're always trying to sell you on their product or service. In your opinion, like, what's the best and most effective way to network face-to-face with people? You know, besides finding new venues with new blood, but like relationship building and not pushing your product and service on them. How do you suggest one goes about doing that?
There's a lot of controversy on that idea that when you go networking, you shouldn't be pushing yourself, you shouldn't be pushing your card, you should be listening and building the relationship. And I believe that is all true. But ultimately, what happens to a lot of networking groups is they take the relationship side too much, and they actually lose the sales element. And when you networking is a sales tool. It's one of many tools that you can use, including print advertising, your website, how you look, sort of all these elements that help you sell what you have. Networking is a sales tool. It must be approached in that manner. But having said that, every person that you meet at a networking event has the potential of being a sale, a purchase, or an alliance. And when you enter any room, that's what you're looking for. You don't go into, here I am, here's my stuff, let me push it on you. You're looking to see where the people that you meet are going to fit within those 3 realms: sales, purchase, alliance. Because all 3 elements are going to make your business soar. If you're looking for the sale, obviously, that's the dollar element. If you're looking for the purchase, and I mentioned this before, it could be somebody who has something that you need, or a service you're currently using, but it's cheaper. And if you can save money, that's money in your pocket. And your alliance side is that every person you meet in there could be someone who could refer you. Referral comes under alliance. And it could be somebody who can work with you. If you're a hairdresser and a makeup artist, you can work together and do a job. So there's the alliance side. So you've got to go in with the intent that this is a sales tool. Once you get past that, when someone tries to sell you something, and I really have a pet peeve with this, because when someone tries to sell you something, the first thing you have to think of is not, wham, I don't want to hear from them and I don't want them selling to me. The first thing you should think of, especially as a successful salesperson, is they've just opened the door for me. So when someone hands you their card, they've opened the door for you to hand their card. When someone sends you an email and says, you know, here's what I'm selling, what they've done, perhaps you're interested in it, but what they've actually done for you is now open the door for you to say back. That is the relationship. You're saying back, well, thank you very much for the info you sent. This is what I do. So it opens a door. So it's a bit of a pet peeve when people tell me they send back emails that say, don't email me again. Because what they are essentially doing is closing walls. So when you walk into a room and you go in with the intent, if someone's trying to sell to you, don't close it off. think to yourself, okay, maybe it's something I want, maybe it's not, but could they be a client of mine? Could they be an alliance of mine? So when you go in with a way better attitude, networking becomes brilliant, a fantastic tool to use for sales.
Yeah, that's interesting, because it is just an attitude switch, and you're saying yes to a whole bunch of potential opportunities.
That's right.
Rather than turning that off.
It is the
great
attitude.
way to look at that.
Because too many people go into networking thinking it's an immediate sale. So they walk in the room and they say, well, you know, if these 10 people don't buy from me, well, then I'm done for. I'm not doing this anymore.
Right, too high.
And I'm never going to go again. But anytime I go to a networking event, first off, I try to give my card out, but failing that, I always get their card. Okay, you always get their card. And within 2 days of that event, you follow up. And that is the number one thing people never do. They never follow up. They think that miraculously I've given out my card, so now 10 people are just going to call and order what I have because, well, I'm wonderful. And that doesn't work like that. So you follow up. Send them an email. It was a pleasure speaking with you. If you've got 10 minutes, I'd like to chat on the phone. Perhaps we can grab a coffee if they're within the coffee range. Put that effort in, you'll get that back in a sale, purchase, or an alliance. Because it doesn't necessarily have to be a sale, a cash sale. What if they know somebody that they could refer your service to? There's a sale right there.
And the other thing too, I think you got to think longer term.
Exactly.
Right? Like, you might not have a sale today, but that guy might call you in a year.
I had a woman contact me 3 weeks ago. She actually became one of our sponsors. Now, there was a lady I met at a very small networking event that had tons of the same people that I normally see around town because I'm out there everywhere. And we chatted, we sat for a moment and chatted about what I was doing, and we parted ways, and she wasn't at that time interested, ready, had her business where she needed it to be to contact me. 2 years later, I get an email from her saying, do you recall us meeting at this event? And I vaguely, because I go to so many, and I said, well, you know, tell me more. And I had her in my database, so I found, okay, what event it was, and it was the Richmond Hill Women's Association. It was wonderful. And she said, let's get together. I'm ready now. Wonderful. Let's get together. So we got together, we sat there. Within that 20 minutes, she had signed up for my highest level within coming into the Canadian Networker. And that was from 2 years before of meeting her. So if I had cut her off, and I looked in my database, I'd gotten emails from her, if I had cut that off, I would not have been able to have that sale at this point.
And if you go to enough networking events, you're going to just fill that pipeline up.
Exactly.
And then in 2 years, you'll be getting emails probably every day from people that you have met at some point over the last couple of years.
That is building your equity. That is the
building
equity
your
that you're
list,
building.
right? Because
that's right. I call
I
it
also
equity.
add people to my list and put them on for my email distributions, my blogs, my newsletters, and I say, you know, you're receiving this because you met me at an event.
Exactly.
So also, just to sum up then, do you still run workshops? Are you still running workshops as part of the Canadian Networking?
I do, but now my regional leaders are going to be taking them over because I brought regional leaders on specifically to work on the promotion of those who come as frontline and coaches within the Canadian Networker. Because we're growing so rapidly and there's such demand, I needed to have helpers, if you will, to support that end of it and to really, really get the word out and to get the message of our coaches out there, because the coaches are our education element and we really want their message heard.
Okay. And do you still believe then, like, of all, like, there's a lot of marketing tools, and we've discussed this a lot on my moment here on the show. Do you believe that one-to-one, like networking, face-to-face, is still the best way to build your business, or do you think that, you know, internet should?
Yes, I think that networking is one of the best, which again is why I stand by what we do. Web, print, events. We cover all elements in that capacity because one alone isn't necessarily the strength, and some people just aren't good networkers. They suck at it. And if you can get people to push to your site, so in other words, if you've gone to an event and you've handed out a card, or you've done an event and you have a booth and you can get your information in their bag, then that might be your stronger element, is that online you project really well. Or perhaps when you write an article, people get to know you better, and they say, okay, you know, I really get this person. But when they met you, they thought you were like crazy town. You know, so it's all in the perception.
Or it could be the opposite too. When they meet you, they may have a better perception of you because they don't get that online.
Exactly.
Or in the
and that's
article.
exactly what I'm saying. That's why it's not, I believe it's one of the best, and I am the Canadian Networker, but Networker is also the idea of branching out and hitting a lot of areas. So that is what we want for our members. That's what we want when people come out. We want you to gain that fresh blood. We want you to connect, and we want you to be able to build your business. And that is why we bring the education, inspiration, and connections.
Great.
Bonnie, I want to ask you about, you've got about 1,200 or so members?
Yes.
Now, because you mentioned that part of why you did this was because all other networking groups sort of implode on themselves.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So, and then you reached out to other networks, right?
Yes.
And how did you find the reaction? Because sometimes
Wonderful.
I see that,
Yeah.
you know, they're,
Yeah.
hey, we got our
They get
network, we
scared a
don't
little
want to
bit.
mesh with other networks here.
You know what? I found fantastic response from the leaders of the groups, because they're ultimately, they have to promote their groups. And if they want their group to survive, they're going to have to be open to their members being able to sell. Because if the member can't sell, they don't want to stay with the group, period. Because eventually, if what ends up happening, if you stay with a group and you're not selling, it now becomes a social element in your business career, if you will. If you are going to networking because you want to sell, then you've got to be able to sell. So all the leaders were wonderful. We had them on the cover of our I guess it was our second issue of the magazine. We had Latip, BNI, Powie, BCX. We had them all on the cover, uniting them within the Canadian network, because they too want their members to succeed. And every group advocates you belong to more than one networking group because of that concept of the fresh blood. They advocate you belong to more than one group. So if you belong to Powie, there's nothing wrong with you belonging to BCX. There's nothing wrong. And the group leaders who have that open mentality tend to have the largest membership base, because their ultimate goal is that the group succeeds, and the members have to succeed for the group to succeed. And that is why they put it out there. And plus, it gives them the opportunity to bring in new members. When they come to and have a booth at like our Ultimate Networking event, you're going to meet Stanley, who's the head of Latip. You're going to meet Cheryl, who's the head of BCX. You're going to be able to meet them, get a better understanding of what their group's about.
And are these people all going to be at the event tomorrow night?
Yes,
Yes.
we're all going to be there. And I just want to mention two things. One, your giveaway today is a one-size card business ad in the next edition of the Canadian Networker
Yes, in our November
magazine,
issue.
worth $250 to the first caller in. So again, the number is 416. Go ahead.
204-9723.
Okay, and just on a closing note, because we are anxious to come tomorrow night, and again, it's at, please tell me again where it's at. It's at
Sure, it's the Shangri-La Banquet Hall on 50 Alden Road in Markham. It is just north of where the 404 turns into Woodbine. So you go north on Woodbine, and you'll hit Alden Road, and you just turn right, and it's right there. You can't miss it.
And the entrance is complimentary.
Tickets are
600
completely
people expected.
Yes.
Lots of speakers, including myself.
Yes.
Lots of booths. I know I've been putting a lot of time and effort into putting my booth together
Awesome.
yesterday.
Yeah.
And that's number 33. And also, I just want to say, in addition to an open mind, as you pointed out, what should a person come with to be prepared to network at and take advantage of all the great stuff that this event is going to have?
The open mind, very good.
Yes.
That was a good point. Come with lots of business cards. Don't be afraid. Walk into the room with a smile on your face and start talking to people. Don't find if you see somebody you know, say hello, but move on and to meet other people. Also, don't be afraid to come up to myself or any of the coaches and look for introductions. Look for someone who can say, well, have you met so-and-so? Because everybody is happy at networking events to intermingle, because it's their way of people being introduced back to them. So don't be shy. But I am going to give some advice on what not to do.
That'd be good, yeah?
Okay. What don't? Okay. One, don't be the life of the party. In other words, if you want an alcoholic beverage, have an alcoholic beverage, but don't go crazy town. Okay, I've seen a lot of events where someone has gotten too inebriated, and again, it loses the focus off business, and you become the joke as opposed to what you want to be, which is the credible business person that people want to do business with. Don't stay in your same group. Move on. Don't eat and eat and eat and eat, because you're going to end up in a position where people are going to be going, wow, she's here for the food and not for the meeting, or he's here for the food and not for the meeting. So don't focus on the food, the beverages, that end. Focus on getting your card into their hand, their card, most importantly, into your hand. So mingle, get out there, get to meet people. Visit all the booths, listen to the speakers, write down what they're saying. These are all our coaches, and they're coming in from all different topics, which is
Why don't
awesome.
you name all the coaches then who are going to be speaking tomorrow night?
Well, we've just had a change. Jeanette is speaking. Mike Bradford is speaking. Sharmila Pereira is speaking. Irene Anderson, Cher Smith, Bhupinder Gill. Is that everybody?
Sounds like a pretty full
Jennifer Ettinger is speaking. And they're all speaking on different topics, which is what's really cool.
Because they're all coaches in different areas.
They're all coaches in different areas, and they're all going to be speaking.
Okay. And for the person who has a booth and you're saying to work the room and do all this stuff, how can we do that if we're at our booth? How do you work the room from behind your booth? That's a good
That is a
tip.
good question. Yeah, you know what? Get out from behind your booth, number one. Like, when you have a booth anywhere, I don't care what your show is, do not sit behind your booth. Stand in front, get ready to meet people. If you're standing behind, people will not come to you because they feel like you're not interested, you're not going to engage. Stand in front of your booth and be ready to hand out. Hand out to everybody, because everyone's going to have a bag when they walk in. Hand out to everybody. Put it in their bag, because some people will go are more visual, so after the event they'll go through the bag and they'll get all your info. So always make sure you have info business cards on hand that they can look at afterwards. Don't leave your booth empty. So in other words, have somebody there. If it's not you, it's somebody else.
Okay.
Now, having said that, prior to the show, meet all the booth people, because though we have other coaches there, there's other businesses there as well, and you want to see that they're people to network with too. Obviously they're interested in their business because they've gotten a booth, so they're willing to hear what you have to say about building their business even further. So a lot of times what happens when you become like a booth leader in whatever, I don't care what show it is, you stay isolated within your booth area and you say, okay, well, I'll talk to this neighbor and I'll talk to this neighbor, and in our case there's 30 other vendors there. Meet every single one of them, get their information. They're also people to network with. So prior to the show, get to know everybody that's there, walk around.
Okay, and this is running from 5 to 9 tomorrow p.m.?
4 o'clock till 9.
4 o'clock till
At
9.
8:30 we announce the Networking Group of the Year award.
Great. Okay, thanks so much.
Thank
Lots
you.
of great information.
Well, and before we go, we would just want to, again, that's at 50 Alden Road up in Markham, Woodbine, and north of Steeles. And is there a website for the magazine or for the
Yep, you
organization?
can go to tcnw.ca.
TCNW?
TCNW, yeah, the Canadian Networker. It's easier, the tcnw.ca. And on there you'll find not only the information about the magazine, but you'll be able to link to the resource centers as well.
Great. Okay.
Thank you
Thanks,
very
Ronnie
much.
Hennison from the Canadian Networker and the Ultimate Networking event happening tomorrow night up in Markham. So thanks for being with us today.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break. Come back. Jim Peg Yamtsis is here as well. ThatChannel.com.